Wait, we're up?
Yeah, you just hit stream. It means we're up.
Yeah, but I didn't hit stream here.
I know. It audits automatically.
I keep forgetting that every week.
Every week you do.
I do.
What's up, Internet World, with the News 19 Nerds with a flash mob style presentation for our press plays. We didn't do an announcement that we were doing one because you know us. We are.
We do this when we can.
Yeah, we do this when we can, and we decided we're just going to start talking about stuff. So I guess these first couple minutes we'll probably just do a little bit of housekeeping stuff to get people on so they don't know that we're actually on. But what are we talking about? We're going to talk about some video games and COVID stuff.
Well, you wanted to talk about state of play and video games in general. Basically, there's some very interesting things dropped this week for me as far as like Guardians of the Galaxy dropped, and it's well reviewed.
I have seen a lot of it does seem to be pretty well reviewed. Some people are kind of like they could have done more, which to be fair is you want to get every game to be a 10 out of 10.
I mean, you want, but it doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10 for you to enjoy it.
Sure, I think a lot of the expectations were set pretty low for this game.
Yes,
because the trailers.
Well, not just that.
I didn't really care about the trailers.
It came off the heels of a bad Avengers game.
Yeah.
So, it was one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, you guys are the same people behind Avengers, so is this gonna be good?
But to be fair, it wasn't the same studio.
No, it wasn't. It was
your Deus Ex people.
Yes, Montreal,
Eidos. Montreal.
Eidos.
Yeah.
So and I liked their first Deus Ex. Their second one I still haven't finished because my save data got destroyed.
This is before the cloud was a thing?
I don't remember.
Okay.
All I know
is I was
is
like, maybe it's still in the cloud somewhere.
I was 70% done with the game.
Right.
And I went to hit save, and no save.
Okay, fair enough.
And I was like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Rayshawn K, IMAX, D. Steezel, Carlos De Leon, Edward Sanchez. Hello, everybody. Watching my Heat beating the Hornets. IMAX is. Are you watching the World Series at all, or are you like, no, since Boston's out?
Oh, I watched the first one, and then the Braves went up 3-0, and me and Daniel, I turned it off.
Okay.
And then, is it possible for both teams to be swallowed up as Bane comes out with the mask and says, I lived in the dark the entire time. You just adapted to it.
Wow.
As both teams fall to their deaths.
Wow.
And then we just have Boston and LA play for the World Series.
That's intense.
I hate both of these franchises.
I feel like, and granted, I'm not a baseball person, but from people at my station are kind of like, essentially anybody but Astros, I guess.
Yes, because of the cheating.
Yeah.
And because no one was punished. No player was punished for it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people feel that there were teams that were robbed. Now, my team doesn't have really a leg to stand on because they had a cheating scandal as well that kind of got pushed under the rug. MLB was like...
So you don't really bring that up?
I mean, we fired our manager.
Okay.
And then we rehired him.
Okay. Cool. All right. Fair enough.
So, I ain't really...
Okay. Yeah.
But if I had to pick between the two of them, go Astros. You know why? Because I hate the Braves. Gosh, I hate the Braves. But they hadn't been relevant in a while. So, if Atlanta wins...
Rayshawn K said the game is a lot of fun for Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
D. Diesel saying this new Guardians game is better than MCU Guardians 1 and 2. Interesting. Okay. I will probably, it might be a collection of games that I get during Black Friday. I'm hoping that, and some other games are going to sell, and maybe I'll pick it up then. Because for me, I'm still playing Yakuza, trying to finish that up, so I'm good game-wise. So you want to start with games?
Yeah, we can start with games.
Okay.
So
this whole topic is kind of just, you know how we do. Our topics go everywhere. This topic it started from Sony's State of Play that happened Wednesday. You may not have known about it because they didn't really promote it that much. And to be fair, when they did do a good job of setting expectations for what it was going to be. They said they weren't really talking about anything first party. It was going to be third party announcements. And it wasn't anything major, with the exception of maybe Little Devil Inside, whatever that game is called. That got announced at that first reveal of PlayStation 5. They talked about that a little bit. When I talked to you earlier in the week, I think you didn't even know it was happening, right?
Nope.
When I told you.
I saw a headline like State of Play was coming up.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it had already happened.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I guess it was trash then, because I heard more about Halo Infinite's campaign
6 minute
overview. Because I watched that and I
Yeah.
was like, this is okay, but I wanted a real campaign trailer. I wanted it to look like I wanted to like be immersed in. And I was like, okay, this is decent, but this was more like a corporate showcase, showing investors and people like, hey, this is what the game will play like, and like kind of like explaining to like people who don't play the game.
We can talk about that too, because I liked it only because it looked way better than that first trailer they showed last year or whatever. It looked a lot better in terms of highlighting everything, graphical detail, fidelity, all that stuff, and it kind of gave you a better idea of what you could do in the game, which I thought was cool. Because we always talk about we want actual in-game engine stuff as opposed to cinematic stuff, and that is what the game will look like on Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Sony's State of Play was about maybe 20 minutes, and I don't know if you guys saw it. I saw it. I was thoroughly unimpressed.
Underwhelmed.
Yeah, and it was just kind of there. And that got me thinking, now, this isn't a conspiracy thing of saying, oh, Sony's in trouble. I don't think that at all. It's just everybody has bad days, they have off days. I think for the most part, though, Sony has been hitting their State of Plays out of the park compared to like Xbox's presentations or even Nintendo's Directs. And you know, I love Nintendo. I feel like Sony has pretty much consistently been very consistent with their State of Plays. This one kind of dropped the ball, and it got me thinking, was this even necessary? I've seen a lot of things online, which I could agree with, that maybe this was a type of thing where they had contracts that they needed to do, like, hey, we need to show this game off contract-wise to show people it's coming out to maybe hit some type of benchmark. I don't know the behind the scenes, but I could believe that. A lot of the games shown just weren't anything.
I thought State of Plays are always quarterly.
There were never.
So see the way I never really paid attention to when they came out. I just always assumed that State of Plays were quarterly, and they were kind of like, dun, 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 you know, like State of the Union. The state of Sony is good.
I think when they first started, I think that was the idea, but I think as COVID has gone on, and how direct to consumer presentations have happened, they kind of just happen whenever they have stuff to announce. So there's no really rhyme or reason for when they happen. And this one maybe might have been, again, 20 minutes, maybe 7 or 8 games.
What did they show?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. All I can remember was Little Devil
Sony,
Inside.
You don't get this.
Yeah, there was nothing major there. There was, they showed whatever the Five Nights at Freddy's new game is. Security Breach, I think they showed that. They showed, I can't remember anything, and it was only Wednesday.
That's
really,
not good.
Nothing really. No, I'll put it like this: nothing that stuck in my mind. None of the games that they showed, like from that original PlayStation 5 conference, was it Pragmata and some of those other big games like that? Nothing like that. But I bring all that up to say, not only is it a corporate thing of we need to hit these benchmarks and show these games off when we can, I wonder if COVID is affecting more than just how games are made and displayed, but also how video game corporations show off whatever it is they're going to show.
What do you mean?
For example, what if they had this idea in their mind they were going to do a State of Play. Maybe it was going to be bigger, but some of the games they thought they could show, maybe they couldn't show because the companies, they just don't have them in a playable state, or they don't have them in a presentable state.
Definitely. So one of the things I think that a lot of people aren't realizing is that and this is where the market, where I put in the description, how has COVID affected the video game industry? So one of the things, I don't know if you watched IGN's next generation console watch, whatever it's called. They talked about ray tracing a lot, and they talked about the fact of we have not seen a lot of ray tracing on a lot of these games because a lot of studios are still hampered with making games for next gen and current gen. So until the PlayStation 4's lifespan is on the decline, you're not going to see a lot of studios doing that. The problem with that is that we would be further along in this life cycle, but with a chip shortage,
Sure.
people not being able to come into work with a lot of that, I'm quite sure, because this is why a lot of movies weren't being able to be done. A lot of that editing software, a lot of stuff is proprietary. You can't work on it from home.
Right.
You have to be in the building.
Right.
It really, I don't, like, people don't, and so a buddy of mine, there was a picture of, on one of the social medias, of it was a meme, and it had all of the ships that you could see from the shore of on the West Coast.
Right.
And they photoshopped a picture of people on the beach, and they said, "This is the line for Black Friday."
Mm.
And it's like, and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Do you not understand what's happening? COVID disrupted the entire world, and not only that, COVID showed that the holes in shipping.
Sure.
We work in a news station. We've said this over and over again. How many times have we done stories on the supply chain?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And how many holes we've seen in infrastructure, and the fact of we're losing truck drivers at an alarming pace. A lot of people who are close to retirement or retirement age are like, "I'm out." You don't have a strong workforce to fill those gaps.
Mm-hmm.
You also have people who are leaving the workforce, people who have taken this time and said, "You know what? This job isn't worth it. I want to start my own business." And in this country alone, is it 600,000 or are we up to 700 now?
What?
COVID deaths, COVID-related deaths.
I can't remember.
It's at least 600,000 people have died.
Sure.
COVID, that's just in this nation alone. So you couple that with people not being able to work, all of these things affects every industry. And our industry, gaming, is going to be affected. And so that's probably that we would be further along in this particular cycle. But developers are saying, everybody ain't got a PS5 and an Xbox Series One X Black, whatever.
Diesel said most folks still can't get a PS5. Sony needs to fix that.
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
So if you have okay, Brian B says 743,704 deaths. That's just related to COVID alone. That's not even including cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That's not including all the other things that takes people out.
Sure.
Then you couple that with the fact of you have $100 million units of PS4s, and maybe 2 or 3 million people with PS5s.
Oh no, more than that. And the only reason I say that is because they have it. I want to say like at least 13 million. I saw a recent number.
How many of those are actual real users, and how many of those are scalpers? Like,
Good
is
point.
that, in other words, are those users or are those sales?
Sony has said that they've sold that many platforms. I don't know how many have actually purchased them.
Because I would wager at least 10 to 20% of that is scalpers. People holding on to those, because we've seen pictures of scalper warehouses of people having PlayStation 5s just hanging out like, bruh.
Yeah. Quick housekeeping note. So I see this person, A Patterson 984. Have you ever seen them before in the chat?
No.
And I don't know who the person is. Thank you for coming. I don't know if you're new or if you've seen our stuff before.
Yeah.
But for anybody who is new, normally back in the day, Leroy and I would react to trailers all the time. We'd work in the same station. I no longer work at this station. I work at a different station now.
No comment. We're still upset.
But the general manager of this station, Rich O'Dell, has allowed me to come back to do our press play every Friday.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. So we are still trying to figure out how to do trailer reactions remotely. And once we figure that out, we will go back to doing trailer reaction on a regular basis. So I saw you wrote that, but I want to put that out there too.
So I tried to answer that while you were talking.
Sure.
But yeah, that's one of the things. But back to your point.
Yeah.
If you have 100 million users on the PS4, and you have who knows how many Microsoft has with PC gaming, Xbox, you're going to still make games and work on those.
Yeah.
And so maybe games that were going to be probably next gen are cross gen.
Sure.
So you're going to focus on those because you can still make money off of that. And then you just offer ray tracing upgrades later on down the road, or do a director's cut.
Now here's a hot topic, our hot take.
Ooh, I love those.
I don't know that I really care that much about ray tracing.
Because you haven't seen it a lot.
And
you don't have a 4K HDMI.
Right. I'm still on the 1080p TV.
Yeah.
But even with a 4K TV, my lady has a 4K TV. It's fine. But I remember when this console generation, like before the consoles came out, a big thing was this console generation, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. The big thing was talking about ray tracing. I feel like a lot of things are not really taking advantage of ray tracing, with the exception of I know Cyberpunk 2077. If you have the bells and whistles, it looks great.
Yeah.
But that's just such a big thing that a big key point that they were talking
it was
about.
a
We haven't
selling
seen it
point.
yet.
But that's what I'm saying. If you don't have a PS5, am I going to make a game that is specifically for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, One Black, Magna, Meta, whatever
Meta World Peace.
What is
Everybody's using the word Meta now.
Why Xbox? Why?
Yeah.
If you don't, for that many people, why waste time? Because I don't know how intensive it is to use ray tracing in a game. We do know, and think about how many next-gen games we know about. So we know Starfield. We know...
You gotta stop saying next gen, man. It's the gen now.
I mean, I'm going to keep saying next gen until everybody gets one.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
For a lot of people, it is next gen.
All right, cool.
I want to say in the comments, somebody said they've never seen one on the shelf, and you won't. I was trying to find the person who said it. You won't see one of these next-gen consoles on the shelf because you have to buy it and then pick it up at the store.
Sure.
If you see, honestly, if you walk by and you see a PlayStation 5 box and you're like, is that a PS5? Ask whoever's working, can I buy that?
Sure.
Because they're not supposed to be on the floor. We have seen that so many different times from... not from manufacturers, from stores, from Target, Best Buy, and Walmart. They will not put them on the floor.
Yeah.
You have to buy them online and then pick them up at the store.
Right.
So why would you make these very intensive games that we know are coming? They're probably just waiting and working on it. And honestly, this might help them because some games we know were pushed back. We know Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, I believe that's the name of it. Forbidden West.
I think it's just Horizon Forbidden West.
So we know that got pushed until next year. We know Halo got pushed until this holiday
8th
season
or 10th or something.
The only game that we know that
Is
uses
that a day before the Game Awards? I'm just putting stuff in my mind.
well, the only game that we know that uses ray tracing and it looks good and we know how it plays. There's 3?
I could think of Cyberpunk.
Your game, that comes with the PS5, Astros, whatever the little robot thingy.
That uses ray tracing?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Why?
They was trying to show off the hardware. I believe Ratchet and Clank does, and I believe Spider-Man Miles Morales does.
Okay.
I believe those games do have ray tracing. I think the PS5 director's cut of Kojima's masterpiece.
Death Stranding?
Yes,
I can imagine that would, sure.
But I don't know of any other ones that have ray tracing built in. So in the future, we know Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac, Wolverine. I would guarantee those games have ray tracing.
PlayStation 6 and Xbox Series Z will be out before folks can get.
You know what? I'm gonna start using that. Who said
that?
That
Was D Steezel.
D Steezel, I'm using that. I'm borrowing that. If I make any money, I'll set you up in a PayPal account.
Yeah.
But yeah, Xbox Z. That's what I'm gonna start calling it from now on.
Okay, fine.
Xbox Series ZX, whatever. But I mean,
yeah,
COVID probably helped in some ways, but it devastated industries.
To add about COVID and video games, I just saw an article on IGN, and you can get at me because I always tell you to know. Oh, I think I do know. I think it was Kat Bailey, I think. But it was an article about Nintendo was closing 2 satellite offices.
Yes,
one
I saw that.
in Toronto and one in Redmond, California. Somewhere in California. They're consolidating offices and put people in their Vancouver office and their Washington office. Because essentially, COVID has kind of disrupted their supply chain, so they don't really need those satellite offices anymore. Everybody's trying to restructure how they do things. And I'm just curious, we knew COVID was going to affect everybody. I think people knew that for a certainty. COVID would affect video game industries in some kind of way. I think we're starting to see some of the more residual effects. It's not just when the games come out, but it may be how presentations are done or how games are distributed and sold and stuff like that. So I think that's an interesting thing that we're seeing with COVID and video game industry.
Here's a list of the games that have ray tracing, or some of the games. The Ascent, Battlefield 5, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare, the new one, the remake, Control, Cyberpunk 77, Deliver Us to the Moon, Dune Eternal. Let's open this up. So I know about those because I believe IGN talked about them as well.
Okay.
Let's see what else. This also might just be for PC because all of these I know are PC games too. We know Forza will have ray tracing when it comes out.
Sure.
And that looks amazing. Like,
Yeah, I'm not a big racing game fan, but that does look pretty cool.
Forza looks like someone's dream come to life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say, and I said masterpiece because Kojima calls it a masterpiece. I don't know if you guys call it that. I say it's a very well thought out game. I think
That game's got a lot of good music. That's what I can say.
it
I
has
enjoyed the
amazing
music.
I bought the soundtrack for it.
Yeah.
So but I mean, it got high marks. I will say this. I now see why, because I've played almost all the games that were nominated for last year's Game of the Year awards.
Mm-hmm.
I see why Last of Us 2 or Last of Us Part 2.
Did you finally finish it?
I did. I told you I did because I had to.
I
Stop,
couldn't remember.
I
Yeah,
had to stop crying.
Oh, right, because then you picked up Spider-Man because you
Yeah.
were so happy. Right.
And then oh my gosh,
Oh, you hadn't played Spider-Man.
I hadn't finished it, and then I did, and I was like,
Oh, that game got a twist.
oh you.
Spider-Man
mother-
hits hard.
I was like, are you
Yeah.
freaking serious? Like I literally
Yeah.
played that to get away from.
I didn't
like,
even think about that. I thought you already played it before.
I did
Yeah.
up to a certain because I thought I finished it, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. I was like,
Nah.
oh yeah. I was like, Spider-Man was happy. You know, I was like, I'm doing Spider-Man things, and I was like, oh yeah, this washes off The Last of Us 2, and then it just quick
Yeah.
time. Punch
Spider-
it. I was
Yeah.
like, are you serious?
It goes there.
Y'all did this to me?
Yeah.
After, you know what I felt like? What you did this to me after all I've done for you?
You haven't played Miles Morales yet, have you?
I don't want to now, cause
It goes some places.
like,
Yeah.
really? Cause now I'm just going through all the DLC just to finish it, cause I'm like, I'm already invested.
Yeah.
I'm already here.
Yeah.
I'm like, good lord, do I just need to watch Exorcist to feel love? Like,
Whoa, Brian B. Spider-Man was really good. Miles was a waste of time. Interesting.
some people do not like that. It
I
was
would
10
not
hours.
agree with that.
Some
but
people,
okay.
So was it a waste of time because it was too short, or was it a waste of time? What?
Looking at your wife, he's stealing his feelings about Last of Us 2. Thank you, Katie.
She want to be a single mom so bad. Damn right, I'm still in my feelings about the game.
Oh, man.
Actually, I'm past it. I am past it, but I just didn't expect Spider-Man to hit that hard.
Sure.
Like, and he's saying it was DLC, not a full game.
I agree with that, but I enjoyed it. I wish it was a full experience, but I enjoyed
I mean, if
the
you
10
paid,
hours.
you paid $60 for it or 50.
I think it was 40.
No, it was at least 50.
For Miles Morales?
When it first came out, that thing was at least 50.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because people were mad that it was just a DLC because they were like, it's not a full game.
Oh, I didn't pay full price for it,
Yeah.
so that's
I
why
didn't
was,
either.
That's why I was cool.
I think that was a gift.
Okay.
But so yeah, COVID really did affect, and a lot of people don't realize how much COVID affected this industry, even though we're still getting games out. Because think about how many games were already supposed to have been released.
I guess pat on the back for the video game industry. It's very resilient. We've gotten a lot of games this year. Quality games. Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, that even during the COVID, the people have able to gotten games out. A lot of independent games, you know, have come out as well that have been critically acclaimed. So,
Well,
yeah.
I think also a part of that, you don't have to have the big apparatus that, you know, a Ubisoft or a EA has to have at their games.
Speaking of Ubisoft, I saw Werewolves Within today. I enjoyed that movie.
I was thinking about I was like, werewolf game? I was like, when you said you saw it, I was like, oh yeah, the
Oh,
movie we
because
talked about.
it's based on the game Werewolves Within
Yeah.
that was made by Ubisoft or whatever, which is based on the you know the parlor game
I was like, you
Werewolves.
watched it? I was like, huh?
But yeah, it's got Sam Richardson,
Yeah.
a bunch of people in it. The Miliana Van Traub, whatever, the girl from the AT&T commercials.
Yeah.
Good movie. It was fun.
She was supposed to be Squirrel Girl, and they
I
canceled
was
it.
excited about that.
She looked like Squirrel
She
Girl.
did,
I
yeah.
was like, man,
Yeah.
y'all need to give me that. But yeah, I think you might be onto something. I think we also need to be patient and enjoy and go back and play some of the games you did not finish. Like that's what I'm doing now. Like I hadn't bought a new game. I'm still trying to going through all the games. Like I still hadn't popped in Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
We've said it on this show before. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is a great deal. If you have Xbox, you know there are tons of games for you to play there. That's how I'm playing Yakuza.
Is
right
that Lauren Williams? We have not played Deathloop.
I haven't played Deathloop. I will put that as one of my games I might get for Black Friday.
Supposedly got a 10 out of 10.
So the ending has already been spoiled to me to that game.
Do not spoil it for me.
No, I'm not going to. I'm saying it's already been spoiled, but even knowing the ending, I still want to play it just to see what the mechanics are.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm fine with as much as I would like to see some of the games come out. I'm cool with the way things have gone because I know we're going to get those games eventually.
Sure. So that's it for our video game talk for now. I just want to talk about that stuff in COVID. Let's get to your topic.
So James Smith brings it up. He's right on time. Dune Part 2 is greenlit, and I have some feelings. I'm happy that it was greenlit.
You guys can see our review of Dune on our YouTube channel right now. What's up?
I don't know where we are I don't know where.
Well, we would be in the center. So
what I'm saying is, it could be off to the side,
possibly.
Yeah, that's what. We're in the edit studio section, so we don't see.
Right.
I'm gonna say something that may be controversial, that some people may be like, "Oh, really?" Mm-hmm. Because I had this conversation with somebody in the chat, and I really wish his comment didn't get deleted, and I didn't delete it. I don't delete comments unless they're goes against our standards. I don't delete comments, and he was very pointed about what he was saying. We had a difference of opinion, but I'm going to say something that may come controversial to some people. I enjoyed Dune. I was looking forward to it all my life, like Casey and JoJo said. Mm-hmm. All my life.
Didn't have to sing it, but okay.
Waiting for someone like you.
Uh-huh.
And I think I finally found you. That was me.
Uh-huh.
Dune is a masterpiece. It is a beautifully shot film. It needs some acting. It needs some script rewrites.
Okay.
Because the problem that I have with Dune is you have these masterful written characters and they just walked around looking at each other angrily. Mm-hmm. And you needed more meat to build this universe.
Question.
Yes.
So I'm not talking about in terms of visual quality from this one to the 1980 whatever.
I still love
Right. So I don't care about the visuals, but do you think that one had more energy to it than the new one?
I don't say, well...
Or maybe that's not the right word.
Ken from Chicago says wooden characters. That's kind of where I'm going. The thing about the movie and who had the best acting in that movie. Think about that for a second. When you I said this before and I'll say it again. You had one of the best casts for 2021.
Sure.
Who stood out to you acting wise?
I like Timothée Chalamet.
The fact that you have to think about it tells you all you need to know about it. And that's what I'm saying. The reason why I said it is because I love Dune. I enjoyed it. But I'm going to tell you what movie I like that Denny did more. Mm-hmm. As a movie, I liked Blade Runner more.
Okay. Blade Runner 2049.
2049.
Yeah.
What I will say is, my question, and I throw this to you, is Warner Brothers messing up by not just going through and saying, we're going to do it, greenlight Part 2? You were saying you weren't basing it, because my thing is this, why make a Part 1 and not just go ahead and greenlit Part 2? Just go, in other words, regardless of what the box office was, say we're going to make Part 2, even if the box office is bad, so just we can complete something. And because it reminds me of what Warner Brothers has done before when they have a director who has a grand vision and they don't follow through. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to start this because Lord knows, as I say, it's like a bat signal to him. Justice League and Zack Snyder.
So to take all that, we have talked about this before. Corporations look out for corporations.
True.
Corporations are out to make money. They, for the most part, don't really care about artistic visions. That's just not how they run. That's not what they do. So I don't think they care whether or not the world gets a Part 2. All they care about is making money. So I don't think it's smart on their part to say we're going to make a Part 2 if Part 1 bombs.
This is where I disagree with that. Mm-hmm. Because here's where Warner Brothers effed up. and now they're reaping that decision with one of this generation's greatest directors. Christopher Nolan has jumped ship from Warner Brothers and has signed with NBC Universal because Warner Brothers' short-sightedness when it comes to dealing with talent and then doing what they have done the last 2 years.
Sure.
So I disagree with that statement that said they don't care that you don't get a vision because you want to keep your talent, your directors happy. There are very few people whose name is attached to a movie and you're like, what is that person doing? And Denny is now one of them because this is the thing I went back and looked at. I went back and watched all the trailers for Dune.
Wait,
Not
Dune or Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
Okay.
For Blade Runner 2049. Go back and watch the trailers and watch all of them. The marquee names on those are Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. And in the trailer it does say, the person who brought you Arrival and Prisoners. Go back and watch Dune trailers and notice that they put out Denny's name very prominently. And they make it so that you understand this is his vision.
Sure.
And all the actors talked about, they signed up for this because of his vision. I'm going to throw a hot take out there. And I agree with everybody saying this movie was visually stunning. I will buy it when it comes out on whatever Steelbook. I have the book for the making of. I say, in a perfect world, we would have gotten that Dune, the story of Dune, should have been an HBO Max show.
In a TV series or whatever.
In a TV series. And the person, and I like I said, I wanted to go back and look at, because there was somebody that I was talking to, and we were going back and forth about how Dune's budget was $165 million just for the production of the movie. Imagine the 6 books of Dune told long format, like Game of Thrones, over the span of 10 years. And I would bet you would have had, because this is the thing, a lot of people are like, well, because the person, and I want to get the person's name and I have to go back and look, he was saying that Dune is a niche book, and I say it's not. To me, it's not niche, and the numbers don't bear it out because without Dune, you don't get Battlestar Galactica, you don't get Star Wars, you don't get these high-minded science fiction, you don't get Guardians of the Galaxy, you don't get any of that without Dune. Take Dune, make it a TV show. Now HBO Max is doing TV shows, 2 shows. One I know is about the Bene Gesserit, but and I think about this for a second. What name a bad HBO Max show? Like prestige HBO Max show. I can't think of any. It may not be like, oh, I didn't think that's how it was going to end. Or True Detective Season 2, a lot of people didn't like.
Sure.
Season 1 and Season 3 they loved.
Right.
We know that they have the money to make this stuff. I would have rather have seen, to get that character interaction we got in the book, because a lot of people, that's Herbert Thomas Thornton said Raised by Wolves is good. I'll say Raised by Wolves is interesting. I'm not gonna go as far as say it's good.
Space Leroy. I can't wait for season 2 to see what's going on with Space Leroy. Okay.
But no, I would have. A lot of people don't realize the houses within Dune. I would have loved to seen that intrigue. And imagine if the first series, the first series of Dune, that first season, ended with them getting to Dune. You see the Harkonnens are building up, you see the Harkonnens building up, doing what they're doing, and they're having to leave while House Atreides is getting ready. You see and then that season ends with them arriving on Dune. Season 2 is them getting to know the people of Dune, building this whole thing. So by season 3, that's when the Emperor sides with Harkonnens. And that's when that's what I'm saying, because think about the moments you had in Game of Thrones.
So
think about the Red Wedding, the Battle of the Bastards, the Battle of King's
Do you
Landing.
have the same cast from the movie as a TV show?
I would say this.
And are you able to keep those movie actors in the TV show?
this is what I say. You do a little bit of both. I would have liked to have seen, and this is my vision for it, and that's what I'm saying. It can be done because if Denny really wanted to do it, because remember, Denny is directing 2 of the episodes for the HBO Max series. He's going to direct 2 and then hand it off, kind of like what Ridley Scott did with Raised by Wolves. Mm-hmm. I believe he could have gotten certain people to come for the show.
Okay.
And another thing is, when you do a TV show, you commit just like a movie. Do that season, you're out. Because we saw that with the Game of Thrones actors. Once they shot a season, and then they would go do other movies. We saw Sansa, the woman, Sophie Turner, go and be Jean Grey. We saw Maisie Williams go off and do other movies. We saw Jon Snow, Kit Harington. Mm-hmm. He went off and did other movies. Mm-hmm. So we've seen them leave. Charles Dance. We've seen them do their parts, boom, out. Mm-hmm. I think you could have gotten it.
Okay.
I think you could have gotten it because those moments would have been so well done, and I think you could have had the budget to use that same $165 million that you budgeted for a movie. How much you think $165 million goes? Because we've seen what $45 million goes for Foundation.
Mm-hmm. That's how much Foundation costs? Huh. Looks really good.
From what I could see.
Chat, help me out. What was like the last season of Game of Thrones per episode cost?
$10 million.
That's what it was?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was one of the most expensive television series until Amazon bought the rights to...
Like Lord of the Rings and stuff, whatever?
Okay. Yes. And that was what we were talking about. And that's where I said... So I asked you, what... Because for you, what was lacking in the movie for you? Because that's something that we talked about.
For me, and again, I don't want to give away everything because I want y'all to see our reviews so we can get those views up. But I will say, even though I knew it was a part 1, it still left a bad taste in my mouth the way the movie ended. I get what they were doing, and it wasn't a surprise. They set it up. I knew what was happening, but I still was like, I don't know where in the book Denny should have cut, but I wanted somewhere else because they did a good job of setting it up. But I was like, oh, that's it. Okay. For me, that was it. Was just leaving a sour taste in my mouth about the ending, and also I wanted more backstory for like the Harkonnens or the Harkonnens. Which one is it?
It's Harkonnens, but you can say either one. Because
okay.
If you say Harkonnens, that means you watched the original Dune.
Okay.
If you say Harkonnens, you got it from
the H family and the A family. The H's and the A's.
Mm-hmm. H's and the A's, that's pretty good.
Yes, H's and A's.
The H's and A's show.
Yep. I would have loved to have gotten more backstory about those families and just like the lore of them. Mm-hmm. And also, the Bene Gesserits seemed cool. That woman who was the Grand Master, whoever, she carried that scene she was in.
And that was awesome. So here's the funny thing. And I just forgot her name just that quickly. Charlotte Rampling. Thank you. Ooh, woo. Mm-hmm. So Charlotte was supposed to be Lady Jessica and Jodorowsky's Dune. So if you go back and watch that documentary, she was originally supposed to be Lady Jessica. Okay. And so when Denny was casting for this, they reached out to her and was like, hey,
you want to come back to that?
Hey, I got something for you.
Yeah.
So my problem with this movie was, and it's a problem that a lot of people had with a couple other Denny's movies, the writing. His movies are visually stunning. Some of the best things you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I agree, we should have seen this in the theater. IMAX, he made this for the theater. Mm-hmm. The problem that I have with it is that palace intrigue, that back and forth, that's just backstabbing. All of those things were missing. The nuances from the book. The way, like, I want to say he used 500 words to describe, and I said this before in our review, the Baron, Vladimir, I want to say Frank Herbert used almost 500 words to describe this man before he, like, introduced him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just described this man as a brute, as a tyrant, as this horrible... The Harkonnens are Lannisters, are space Lannisters on crack. Like...
Oh, that was the thing I did bring up. I think the movie did a good job of making me not like that family a lot.
I'm telling you, you will think the Lannisters are the Cosbys compared to the Harkonnens. That's how evil these people are. They have developed their planet to the point that there is no greenery left. They made them. I think somebody said in our review, they call them space capitalists. They're not just space capitalists. They're capitalism gone to the extreme.
Herbert Thornton says, guys, discuss the new Witcher trailer, please. If you're talking to the chat, cool. I haven't seen the Witcher trailer, so I can't discuss it.
I have.
Oh, you like it?
No. But
Okay.
still go watch it.
Okay, cool.
I don't like the trailers the way they've cut them.
Okay.
But I love y'all know my love for Henry Cavill.
Yes.
Cavillites.
Yes.
He's back.
Cavalites. I mean, in your
Cavalites.
mind, he never left, but
He never did.
That's right.
In our hearts, he was always there.
that's right. Yeah.
But no, that's why I said the little bit of the intrigue, the palace, the empire, all of those things I would have liked to have seen. And I don't know if we're going to get that because of the way Denny shoots his movies, the way he carries himself. He's a visual auteur, and I would wager he may be a better director when it comes to visually sometimes than my true love, Christopher Nolan. Go back and watch Sicario. Go back and watch Prisoners or Arrival.
That's interesting that you say that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
You said that because somebody brought up the fact that Dune, and I think they said Denny movies, there isn't necessarily action so much in them a lot.
Unless you go, like, the way he crafts his action, it's
not like an action
it's
blockbuster.
intense. No, it's not. It's not. He's not doing.
He ain't doing Bad Boys.
No.
Okay.
He's not doing any Jerry Bruckheimer films.
Right.
He is not Michael
He's
Bay.
not Michael Bay.
He's not like, we gotta go to Plan C. Was your plan to drive this big ass truck through the house? That's not Denny.
He would not make that new ambulance trailer.
He would not.
Okay, cool.
However, go watch Sicario and watch his action scenes.
They are intense.
They are intense, but it's the feeling you get. Because I would wager that Sicario, those action scenes are almost directed like a horror scene. Because of the way the music builds up and that tension, you're just like, what is going on? Because from the way the movie first starts, and you see that truck come through, and those dudes are just hanging out, and they're just clearing rooms, and then that overwhelming dread from that music builds up.
Yeah.
Nolan doesn't do that.
Yeah. I agree with that. I brought that up because you talk about Christopher Nolan, and I would argue that some of his action is weird. I go back to like the Batman movies. The way the fight scenes were shot were weird to me. I never got the sense of space where Batman was fighting in those movies, and I think that's just the way he shot it.
It's the way he shot it, and also the way he uses light. Because if you remember the way he uses light, especially in Batman, it's very hard to see what Batman is doing. And I don't know if that's done on purpose or if that was just a trick that he was... I don't know. And some people are talking about Dune bombed horribly at the box office. These are all great points. I'm not disagreeing with you. My problem is, and I think it was Brian Jones who said that nobody's throwing $165 million at Dune. This is the thing. I disagree if you're going to get Game of Thrones money out of it. Game of Thrones in totality. There's an article up from Think Monkey. Game of Thrones, and keep in mind, these books aren't even done. Martin still ain't finished the last book. So if y'all are mad that the series didn't end the way you wanted it to, blame George R.R. Martin. Because Benioff and Weiss, whatever those two idiots' names are.
Why they gotta be idiots?
Because they wanted to make the slavery show, and I'm still not over that.
People gotta try stuff.
Nah, man.
Say it.
Nah. Friends of the show.
Friends of the show. Idiots.
But they didn't sign up to finish his series. They did all right with everything else except for the ending because they didn't know how to end it. Dune is done. Game of Thrones totally cost $1.3 billion. Warner Brothers, or HBO, or whoever you want to call it, off just the show alone, made $3.1 billion. Off a series that ain't even done. That cut out so much. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about it, how much money are you going to make on a series that you... Do you not remember when the Night King died?
Here's a question, though. Do people care more about high fantasy over, like, interplanetary science fiction?
I think they do if you do it right.
Okay.
Because Star Wars has lasted how long?
True. True.
I mean, let's be honest. How long? Star Wars has lasted how long? It was one of the most expensive independent movies ever made, and we still talk about Luke, Leia, and Han.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be done. I'm just saying that, and as much as I love the movie, I would have liked to see more, and hopefully we get to see more of that palace intrigue, see more character development. Oscar Isaacs, that's a bad man.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember him as Duke Leto? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not, again, a lot of people may take this as I may be bashing the movie. I'm not bashing the movie. I'm saying you could have gotten more out of that. And the people say, well, these are movie actors, they're not doing television. Oscar Isaac is about to be Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Momoa started on Stargate. I can do this all day. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can get these people to do it if you have the right... If you have the right people doing this, Game of Thrones would have been a flash in the pan compared to the ups and downs of Dune as a TV show. Because this is my thing.
That's interesting.
Did you know about Game of Thrones before the show came out? Or did you learned about Game of Thrones through word of mouth after people started watching it? Sure. And it was like, this is a sword, this is a fantasy, but this isn't Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. This is not magic.
Yeah. But Game of Thrones had something that I don't think Dune... Does Dune have sex in it?
I mean, we can put sex in it.
Well, the reason why I say that is because Game of Thrones has that.
I mean...
It has that titillation, right? It has the... Whatever you want to call it. It did. But that definitely sells it to a certain audience.
You're right. And
it brings that intrigue in.
Denny, get on that, man.
So add some tasteful sex
scenes.
Man.
Just throw some bodies together, man.
There we go.
Throw some bodies in some sand. Throw it up there. It's green screening, man.
Dune After Dark. Okay.
Dune After Dark. Hey.
There we go.
Dune After Dark.
Yep.
The H's and the A's.
Yes.
That's what they call the show.
All right.
Dune, the H's and the A's After Dark.
Okay.
HBO Max coming soon.
Fair enough.
That's how I felt about it. And like I said, I'm going to go see the next one. That's what I think, because this is the one thing, it's almost like this is the thing the streaming services are trying to do that video games have gotten, that Sony and Microsoft are doing right now to each other. They have something that you can only get from them. You can only play Spider-Man on a Sony PlayStation. Mm-hmm. You can only play Spider-Man on Avengers on a Sony PlayStation. Mm-hmm. You can only play Miles Morales on a Sony PlayStation. Each of these streaming services is striving to be the one that stands out amongst everything else. And if you are going to go head to head with the mouse, you better aim for the head.
Yeah. Do we chat? Do you know how many subscribers Disney Plus has?
That's what they're talking about right now. Herbert Thornton says, Brian Jones, yes, I do. HBO Max has 60 million subs. Netflix has 200 million.
Yeah, I'm curious what Disney Plus has. Because I'm sure it's more than HBO Max, but maybe not as much as Netflix, I would think. So.
Well, we know. I think, was it 70? Hold on, Disney. Subscribers. There we go. 116 million subscribers.
Okay, cool. All right.
So, and that's my point. Yeah, Dune was a great movie, but if HBO Max, and this is my thing, if you're going to make Dune, just commit to it. Mm-hmm. You're gonna make your money back, because the idiots like us are gonna watch it over and over again.
We started this conversation talking about was Warner Brothers making a mistake in not green lighting Part 1 and Part 2 of Dune, mm-hmm. because we talked about what they did with Justice League. You and I had a conversation, and I couldn't remember. Chat, help me out.
Yeah.
When Justice League was first announced by Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder, did they say that they were doing a Part 1 and Part 2 at that time, or was that coming later? And I'm just curious.
The thing is, we knew that Zack Snyder had envisioned this to be multiple parts.
Right.
He was setting up a nightmare scenario. He talked about it. But the problem is, he got fired. He got removed from the movie. They brought in Josh Whedon, and then everything else is history. We know that. Then what they did, the second mistake they did, was allowing him to make the Snyder Cut, which then made the fans rabid and was just like, so it's like, and that's why I said, let him finish it.
Sure.
Let him finish it. You made money off. Don't tell me you didn't make money off Justice League.
I will say, I mean, I did enjoy the Snyder Cut more than Joss Whedon's Justice League. And I feel like it was. I won't say either of them were great movies, but I did enjoy the Snyder Cut version more. So
I see what you guys are saying. Brian Jones, Lauren Williams says the best part about Oscar Isaac was he was naked in that chair.
Was he?
He was naked.
Okay.
He was very naked.
But okay.
I was a little upset because I knew that was the end for him. And I was like, damn, that's it, bro? I was like, you were all in this poster and everything, looking all scrumptious. I was like, okay.
Scrumptious.
I mean,
man.
Do you not remember the beard? I was like, man, I'd be trying to get my beard like that. My beard looks like a homeless, scraggly, whatever you want to call it. Look, I'd be roasting squirrels on the side of the road. Huh?
You're not a millionaire. Millionaires
not
can
even
make millionaires can make their beard look like that.
I was like, man, that is nice.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about as I was watching the movie, or after I was done with the movie, and I'm reading this book, and I'm like, imagine this battle. It just ends, and that season is over, and you gotta wait. Like the Battle of the Bastards, the Battle of King's Landing. Like, not just the way you felt, you know, when a girl said, "Tell her it was me."
Yeah,
like, I mean, cool. These lines, man. I'm now granted, Game of Thrones took a lot of heat because of what they did to their female characters. Rightfully so.
Sure.
However, I think Dune could have done this and more, especially when you had people like the Fremen, and you could talk about, because again, Frank Herbert was a visionary, a futurist before his time. All the different things and the themes you could have incorporated, and I bring up Battlestar Galactica because that's a series we all love. That's the way you do a reboot. Mm-hmm. Battlestar Galactica dealt with suicide bombing against robots.
Yeah. When is the new Battlestar Galactica coming? Because is that Sam Ishmael?
Yeah.
Ishmael or whatever? Mr. Robot Man? Okay.
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's just where I come from. And that's why I said, I think it's time for us to have high-minded science fiction. We have The Expanse.
Ryan Porter says, bro, get you some beard oil and some biotin and you're good.
Hey, man, I'd be doing everything. I'd be in there. I'd be looking at it. I'd be combing it. Still be looking scraggly. I'd start all over.
Oh, man. Okay.
But yeah, we have high-minded science fiction with The Expanse, with Battlestar Galactica. We now have the Foundation, which Foundation I really like. But
I'm enjoying it.
I hate the way it ends sometimes. 'Cause I'm like, that's it?
What's
happening next?
I haven't seen the last 2 episodes. We're going to watch those tomorrow.
I've watched, so I now need to watch the new one tonight.
Okay.
That came out. I didn't get a chance to watch that. I was finishing up Perry Mason.
Okay. You talked about Perry Mason. So
don't watch it.
Oh, don't watch. Okay, cool.
Nobody. It's too close to life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're like.
I don't need that.
You're like, come like, to the bed. What? No.
Yeah.
It's not. And I'm not saying it's not bad. It's not good. It is very good.
Right.
Your girl, Tatiana Maslany.
Maslany.
She does a very good job.
Of course she does. She's Tatiana.
Yeah.
Hey.
She does a very good job, but you're not gonna like her.
Oh. I don't want to not like Tatiana.
Yeah, you're not gonna like her.
Okay.
But I mean, it was a very well done show. It's just you're like, man, where's Disney?
Okay.
Like it's one of those,
I don't need that.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's very well done.
Yeah.
And it starts with like it's basically Perry Mason's origin story.
Okay.
So it doesn't get to Perry Mason to like the
Who's
last.
Perry Mason?
Matthew Rhys, the guy from Americans.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. Cool.
But yeah, that's why I just wanted to talk about high-minded science fiction. I did. I just wanted to find a way to get this to talk about like Dune, Battlestar Galactica, like The Expanse. I mean, The Expanse's final season is coming up.
Is Oscar Isaac too small for Mark Spector? That's what Dee Diesel says.
All of these dudes are small.
Hey, everybody.
Other than I think
everybody hated Hugh Jackman because he was too tall for Wolverine. now he is Wolverine.
No, he's not.
All right, calm down. Put your glasses down.
I'm just saying he's not Wolverine to me.
Calm down.
I'm just saying.
You didn't like Logan?
I like Logan. But he was Logan. He wasn't Wolverine.
Right.
Oh, see, ha ha.
Whatever.
Ha ha. Didn't think I could do that. See,
Okay.
I did that. Did the whole.
Yeah. All right. Sure. Whatever.
But you just answering comments.
I'm kind of just going through stuff.
Yeah. Brian Jones says it's paltry by standards of Game of Thrones. Yes, Game of Thrones was throwing $10 million per episode at the end, and both were paltry compared to the $106 million you would have to throw at Dune. Here's the thing that the problem with Brian Jones that I agree with some of what you're saying is, people haven't really listened to what DB Weiss and I forget what
That is
his name.
Benioff and Weiss.
Benioff and Weiss.
I don't
thank
know
you.
the first names.
Has anybody actually listened to them?
I don't know.
Like when they've talked about like making Game of Thrones,
What do they say?
they had no effing idea what they were doing.
I mean, in hindsight, it's like, wow.
Think, that's what I'm saying. Think about that for a second. They had no idea what they were doing.
Okay.
And that's why I think a lot of people aren't really paying attention to the fact of if you had the people who made Dune paired with the amount of money HBO Max would have given you, that's because people go back and listen to some of what Benioff and Weiss have said in the making of Game of Thrones. They basically had film school as they were making the show. So that you can look at, some people looked at it as these two white guys were able to get this, and it's like we have so many other actors and actresses, yada yada yada. Or you could look at it and say they made amazing work by learning on the job. So maybe we don't need so many people who have, I am Steven Spielberg and I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
And so that's kind of where I come at it as, like, let's look at what could have happened. Lauren Williams, yeah, Perry Mason was rough, but it was really good. But it was rough. And then you know what? Side note, and I'll get back to the other point. It has gotten harder for me to watch certain shows when it deals with the death of a child. That is hard. Like that, like, there's some moments where you're like, oh, you did what? Oh, like it reminded me of The Outsider.
Okay.
Kind of like that, where you were like, oh, that's just you're evil. So without the supernatural elements that came with it, you're just like naturally evil.
Yeah. Wrap this up.
What got you through the week?
Game wise, Yakuza. I'm getting ready for the new Animal Crossing DLC. People who are playing Animal Crossing, get ready for that new DLC comes out next week. It's fun, man. You want to talk about something
I'm messing with you.
to get you out of dealing with like the harsh reality of life?
Yeah.
Go to Animal Crossing, build you a farm, and talk to some animals.
Hey man, I'm not mad at you. I was a space ninja for months.
There we go. You were. So you finally put down Warframe for a little bit?
I mean, I gotta save New York. I was about to say Gotham or Metropolis,
Yeah,
but I was like, no, Marvel just calls it New York.
Right.
They didn't make up fake cities.
Yeah, that got me through game wise. Movies, like I said, I saw Werewolf Within today. I like that. I need to finish up The Foundation, and I need to start the third season of Batwoman because I keep forgetting that it comes out Sundays. I think at this point it's like the third episode.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose and the studios are going. They're going at each other.
Batwoman doesn't use guns, but Ruby Rose does.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough for the Arrowverse right now.
Man, Ruby Rose is just.
Yeah.
She ain't got no friends. She's just aiming and hitting send.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's it. What about you?
Perry Mason, which is sad, but I mean it is really good. But there are some evil people in that show, and you're just like, ugh. Didn't you just get shot in the back of the head? Like, it's like, again, and they remind you of real people. That's what makes it bad. But it's a very well done show. John Lithgow was really good in it. There's a lot of people you've seen, but you don't like. You're like, hey, I remember that guy or that girl or that lady, and you're like, oh, you're not a good person. But it was really good. I finished that last night. Then I watched Foundation. Finished playing Spider-Man. Tomorrow I'm going to go do a one-on-one with Emily Swallow.
Yeah, you are. I'm excited for you.
So guys, so I got an opportunity. I wasn't going to go to this convention. So in Columbia, South Carolina, we're having what's called a Soda City Con, and they have a couple of panels. I'm going to do one. Grace, who you've met here, she's going to do an anime panel, and she's going to judge a kids cosplay contest, and she's going to dress up. So check that out. But I get to interview or basically introduce. I don't know how this format's going to go, but I'm going to get to meet Emily Swallow, who was the armorer in The Mandalorian. If you also know her, she was in SEAL Team, and she also was on your show.
She played Amara on Supernatural.
She was
the sister of God.
She's also a voice actress. She was in Castlevania, and did a voice actress. She did some work in Last of Us Part 2, and I'm trying to remember. There's another niche show she did, but I can't. I had it out, but yeah, her resume is. She has bona fides.
Cool.
Bona fides, whatever you want to call it.
So yeah, if you're in town, you can come meet this nerd in Columbia.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really want to ask her, like, what was it like? You know, one, how do you act with a helmet on all the time? But how was it being one of the first people like you essentially were the first Star Wars show? What was it like? Did you know what you had? Did you know what you were a part of? Mm-hmm. Like, because that show just took everything by storm.
Sure.
So yeah, that's it.
All right. That's it for us.
Yep.
Always see us here on YouTube. You also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Sometimes we're on websites, wrtx.com.
If you want to keep the Dune conversation going, just go to our review. That's where I've been talking to people about Dune. I'm just enjoying the conversation of the what ifs. You know, and what we liked and what we didn't like. So so as you were saying, go ahead.
That was it. Yeah, see y'all later. We out.
All right.
See y'all next week.
Peace.